Although every wrestler on the planet would love their initial or new character to get over with the WWE Universe from the very first moment it's introduced to them, sadly that just isn't always the case. For every Demon King and Dead Man, there is always going to be a god-awful Vince McMahon attempt at comedy, or another generic preachy heel gimmick that fans are forced to endure for months and sometimes years on end. However, not every originally dreadful character stays that way forever. In fact, over time, what first appeared to be the worst direction possible for a talented performer soon becomes an inspired decision which helps them become a must-see attraction in this balmy company. I'm Gareth from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 awful WWE gimmicks which somehow became awesome. Number 10. Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Messiah. After a once promising babyface run came to a disastrous end in 2019, Seth Rollins was in desperate need of a new direction. That long-awaited alteration came after Monday Night Raw was soundly beaten at Survivor Series by SmackDown and NXT, with Rollins slamming his peers and eventually turning heel to become the Monday Night Messiah. However, the character didn't fully click early on. This was largely down to the fact that Rollins was being framed as a sort of Christ-like figure, and the star himself even admitted that he wasn't comfortable with the religious overtones this initial version of the persona had. This, coupled with a tiring, never-ending storyline with Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens, left fans wondering whether Rollins' new gimmick and faction had much of a future. Now, after dropping the stained glass windows and locking horns with Rey and Dominic Mysterio in recent months, Rollins has gone on to become one of the few things that makes Monday Night Raw actually watchable at this moment in time. When you manage to keep an eye for an eye storyline from being completely ridiculous, you must be doing something right. Number 9. Otis, Lovesick Puppy. Throughout 2019, Heavy Machinery firmly established themselves as a reliable, light-hearted main roster tag team who seemed destined to simply provide blue-collar comic relief and not much else for the duration of their time in WWE. Even when Otis suddenly found himself involved in a fledgling love storyline with Fire and Desire's Mandy Rose, it felt like this was all leading to the Lovesick Puppy getting his heart broken and becoming the butt of a very cruel Vince McMahon joke. However, once Otis and Mandy got through the rough early stages of this program, something unexpected happened. Instead of having Rose announce that she was using Otis to win matches, it was revealed that Dolph Ziggler and Sonya Deville had actually been conspiring to ruin the pair's romance. This then led to the lovable ham-eating star finding a new gear as a pissed-off ass-kicker. If that wasn't enough, Otis's newfound popularity then eventually led to him winning the Money in the Bank ladder match. This once cringy, obsessive gimmick has now blossomed into Otis being one of the most popular babyfaces on the roster, and he now carries a World Championship shot in his lunchbox. You saw that coming. Number 8. The New Day, Gospel Preachers. The New Day weren't always the deeply charismatic trio of imaginative fun we know and love today. When Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Big E first arrived on the scene as a team in November 2014, the stars were burdened with a Gospel Preachers gimmick, which saw the three attempting to get fans on board through clapping and chanting "New Day" at the top of their lungs. Despite Vince McMahon presenting the team as a babyface unit, the three stars knew it would only be a matter of time before they were turned heel, as the WWE Universe regularly rained down boos on the painfully positive gimmick. This turned out to be the best thing that could have happened to the New Day. As heels, the team regularly drew deafening reactions from the live audience. Before long, though, the trio became so ridiculously entertaining as a collection of heels that fans had no choice but to replace their New Day sucks chants with New Day rocks ones instead. They turned babyface in early 2016 and have not looked back since. Number 7. Baron Corbin, King Corbin. Much of the wrestling world collectively groaned when Baron Corbin went on to win the 2019 King of the Ring tournament. The annoying star had recently been front and center during one of WWE's worst ever creative spells, and was now going to be repackaged as an unbearable ruler. Yay. Sure enough, this new King Corbin gimmick led to an excruciating dog-centric feud with Roman Reigns. Yet once he'd put all that dog food absolute nonsense behind him, it soon became apparent that Corbin had finally found his niche in the company. Instead of being booed for taking up too much time on television or simply not being very interesting to watch, Corbin was now being jeered thanks to his precise heelish promo work and dickish in-ring style. In an age when it's as difficult to create a genuinely detestable heel as it is a sincerely adored babyface, Corbin now stands out as one of the only true heat magnets WWE currently has on their books. Long live the king, I say. Number 6, the Iconics, all bark and no bite losers. It's fair to say that quite a few fans were unsure of what to think about the decision to call Peyton Royce and Billie Kay up to the main roster in April 2018. Though the Iconics were undoubtedly excellent on the mic, they weren't ever really given the chance to be anything more than a seriously irritating twosome who rarely picked up a win on television in the early stages of their SmackDown and Raw careers. Even after the pair surprisingly won the Women's Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania 35. They hardly defended said belts and were regularly left off television. However, the duo weren't happy to just be shuffled under the WWE carpet, and set about popping up in various social media videos in character. Through these many hilarious and often inspired backstage interviews and segments, the duo became something of a cult hit heel team that fans love to hate. So that's why it was such a shame when Vince McMahon eventually decided to break up the pair in September of this year. Now the company's women's tag team division is that much thinner, and Monday Night Raw is that less entertaining without these two Aussies routinely causing chaos. Number 5, Drew McIntyre, Scottish psychopath. Now, I am by no means suggesting that Drew McIntyre was reintroduced to the WWE Universe with an awful gimmick. His Scottish psychopath shtick actually seemed like a wonderful way to cement him as a force to be reckoned with after 3 years away from the main roster. However, this character very quickly lost its credibility due to McIntyre regularly finding himself stuck in various heel teams and alliances. Instead of lashing out at whoever he wanted whenever he wanted, McIntyre turned into a depressingly bland henchman. Thankfully, WWE finally came to their senses in early 2020 and allowed McIntyre to spread his wings as the sort of Scottish psychopath who channeled his fits of fury and aggression into a Royal Rumble winning performance at this year's titular event. Completing his successful character evolution, McIntyre then conquered WWE champion Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 36. Though he doesn't regularly indulge in his psychopathic roots on a week-to-week basis, this current version of the McIntyre character feels equally capable of making you laugh as he is breaking your face with a Claymore kick, if he's in the mood. Number 4, Alexa Bliss, corrupted by the Fiend. Anytime WWE tries something completely new and distinctly different, there's always a chance it will fall completely flat on its face. That's exactly what fans were unfortunately anticipating after Bray Wyatt's The Fiend targeted Alexa Bliss during his Universal Championship program with Braun Strowman. The actual attack on Bliss under the character's usual vibrant red light initially had some curiously wondering where WWE would take this story in the future. However, the weeks that followed saw Bliss used as nothing more than bait to lure Strowman into a confrontation with The Fiend, and vice versa. Bliss eventually began to find herself falling into a trance whenever somebody mentioned The Fiend's name. She would finally dramatically snap during a match with Lacey Evans, which saw The Fiend's music and lighting interrupt the action. Clearly possessed by the monstrous figure, Bliss has now become one of the most compelling characters on SmackDown, and fans are now eagerly awaiting what comes next in the Wyatt Bliss story. Number 3, the Hurricane superhero. If Ricochet's recent ill-fated main roster gimmick was anything to go by, it's not exactly easy to make fans invest in the idea of a wrestler being a real-life superhero. Yet it definitely isn't impossible, as Gregory Helms proved years earlier with his unexpectedly popular The Hurricane character. At first glance, this gimmick seemed like a terrible idea. The supremely talented Helms was stuffed into a ridiculous superhero costume, complete with a face mask and eventually dyed green hair, after WCW was purchased by Vince McMahon's WWF in 2001. Thanks to Helms' unwavering commitment to the seemingly awful gimmick though, the Hurricane remarkably became something of a fan favorite, with the character's undoubted high points coming when Helms found himself regularly going back and forth with The Rock in early 2003. Sure, the Hurricane was never going to realistically main event WrestleMania, But Helms turned a potentially career-killing gimmick into a character who deservedly receives a nice warm pop whenever he returns to our screens. Number 2. Santino Marella, Cobra-wielding butt of the jokes. On the surface, the character of Santino Marella represents everything wrong with WWE's constant attempts to infuse comedy into their product. The character was known for his consistently over-the-top fish-out-of-water shtick and tendency to pull a Cobra sock puppet out of his singlet before jabbing his opponents in the face with it. As you'd expect, there were times when Marella's character, or certain versions of it, fell completely flat. Looking at you, Santina. But for the most part, the Milan Miracle actually managed to turn chicken crap into unlikely chicken salad. Over time, Marella proved that even the most ridiculous and painfully cartoonish WWE gimmicks could eventually get over with those who once turned their nose up at the sight of them. Even when Santina Marella wandered down to the ring during this year's Women's Royal Rumble match, the performer nailed his enthusiastic appearance by eliminating him/herself via Cobra to the face, and the fans lapped it up. Number 1. R-Truth, Little Jimmy. Having a wrestler pretend to talk to their imaginary friend and then proceed to get crazier and crazier as each year rolls by should not have worked. But R-Truth is no ordinary professional wrestler, folks. After targeting a young fan in the audience during a May 2011 episode of Raw, Truth apologized to Big Jimmy and Little Jimmy the following week, and an unlikely gimmick was born. From there on out, Truth would regularly refer to an imaginary Little Jimmy during various segments, and the crowd incredibly adored the madness on show. This loony Truth character would eventually evolve and grow over the years, generating waves of laughter from moments like his hilarious attempt to bring a ladder into a Royal Rumble match. The fact that Truth has consistently found himself on WWE programming for so long is a testament to how creative and naturally talented he is as a performer. Long may he continue to provide us with 24/7 championship chaos and balmy antics galore. And that's our list. Know of any other awful WWE gimmicks which somehow became awesome? Let us know all about them in the comment section below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button. Also, be sure to head on over to whatculture.com and click on some more awesome articles just like the one this video is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm sure I'll see you very soon.